The secret place was hidden deep within the far reaches of the infinite astral plane, a psychic refuge unknown to most. It was a peaceful subconscious hillside where nonverbal and speaking psychics alike gathered, far from the chaos of the outside world. Suddenly, Quentin yelled out, calling for the Omega Kids. Nell, clearly annoyed, remarked that he was so loud. Lying down nearby, Isla casually mentioned that she had him muted and asked what he was saying this time. Nell replied that it was the same speech as always, searching for rebels, scanning for spies, protecting revelation, and chanting mutant liberation forever, followed by endless repetitions of the same rhetoric. Curtis admitted that he wished Quentin would just leave them alone. Bailey coldly remarked that she could make him leave them alone, but Curtis quickly objected, saying it was unnecessary and that they should at least hear Quentin out. Outside downtown Philadelphia, within the Revelation territories, the Omega Kids gathered around Quentin. Quentin informed them that they had field work. Sector 29 was going to be a real mission. He instructed them to search for rebels, scan for spies, and use psychic projections exactly as they had practiced. He asked Nell and Isla if they wanted to take the first assignment. Like an obedient soldier, Isla saluted dramatically and answered, "Yes, sir. Mr. Choir, sir." Nell smirked as Isla saluted Quentin with exaggerated obedience, clearly not taking him seriously. Quentin pointed toward a corner apartment on the second floor and told them that the first team to root out an insurgent would win. Nell psychically asked what exactly they would win. Quentin replied that they would earn the respect of their team and the gratitude of a mutant nation. He added that if they found 2 bad guys, he would make pizza bagels. Nell mocked him, calling him weird. Quentin then asked the team to review the procedure: access, assess, enforce, or exit. Isla interrupted him, pointing out that guys was a gendered term and asking how old he actually was. Quentin sarcastically thanked her for checking his privilege and asked the 2 of them to refresh the team's memory. Isla explained that they first accessed the subject's mind carefully, ensuring no mental distress was caused. Nell continued by explaining that they then assessed whether the subject possessed rebellious intent or knowledge of insurgent activity. Isla finished by stating that if they found anything objectionable, they enforced a penalty before exiting the subject's mind quietly. She added that the current target was clean and gave off chill vibes only. Quentin praised them for the good work. He then ordered Curtis and Bailey to scan the apartment across the hall, second floor. Curtis, irritated, asked if they truly had to do these scans one at a time. Quentin explained that they had to learn to walk before they could run. Once they mastered the basics, they could discuss relays, batch scanning, and automated programs. But he warned them that psychic espionage could never become set it and forget it. Curtis soon reported that the woman they scanned had been funneling food and supplies to her grandson outside the territory. Bailey commented that the woman radiated big rebel energy. Quentin asked what the woman's actual intent looked like and whether she was truly a rebel or simply a kindly old grandmother. Curtis admitted that he saw no hardcore rebellion in her mind, though he suggested they monitor the grandson carefully. Quentin instructed them to pull out gently and erase any memory she had of the grandson, just to be safe. He reminded them there was no reason to neutralize an 84-year-old retiree and repeated their golden rule. In unison, the Omega Kids recited that they did not kill innocent people. Quentin nodded approvingly and split the team into 2 groups. One team would take the 3rd floor, while the others scanned the row houses nearby. As the operation continued, Nell reported that the first 2 units were clear. Isla grimaced in disgust while scanning another apartment and complained that somebody desperately needed to wash their socks. Quentin reminded her that they judged innermost thoughts, not hygiene. Elsewhere, Curtis and Bailey's astral forms entered a dark room where a figure sat motionless before a fireplace. Curtis cautiously informed Quentin that they had found something strange, though he could not determine what it was. Quentin immediately asked if they had located insurgents. Curtis explained that he could not tell because the figure possessed some kind of psychic shield. Quentin ordered them not to do anything until he arrived. Suddenly, a massive phoenix, made entirely of fire, appeared before them. Curtis gasped in shock. The fiery phoenix exploded violently, sending Curtis Quentin and Bailey flying backward. As they were hurled away, Quentin abruptly warned the kids not to, but Bailey, equally stunned, demanded to know what was happening. After crashing to the floor, Quentin looked ahead in terror and muttered, "Oh no." He immediately shouted for Bailey and Curtis to get back. However, Curtis refused, believing he could stop whatever they were facing. He claimed the woman's shields were shifting and that she could not defend every neural pathway simultaneously. He called for Isla and Nell to assist. When they arrived, Isla demanded to know what the hell was happening. Curtis instructed them to focus a telepathic attack on the woman's frontal lobe, arguing that she would be unable to guard the rest of her mind. Quentin desperately tried to stop them, warning them not to proceed. Ignoring him completely, Curtis erected a dome-shaped psychic barrier around Quentin and confidently declared that they could handle the situation. Quentin slammed against the barrier, ordering Curtis to take it down. The Omega Kids launched a brutal neural assault against the unidentified woman. She curled up in agony, clutching her head while screaming in unbearable pain. Isla telepathically admitted that the attack looked horrifyingly painful. Bailey coldly encouraged the others to make it hurt even more. Quentin screamed at them to stop, insisting he knew who the woman was and that she was not an enemy. The attack continued regardless. Finally, Quentin unleashed his psychic power, shattered the barrier, and roared for them to stop. Furious, he reminded them that when he gave an order, they were supposed to obey. He ordered all 4 of them out immediately. As the Omega Kids retreated in astral form, Curtis still protested, but Quentin was clearly furious, and even they knew it was time to back off. Back in their physical bodies, Isla complained that Quentin had not needed to shove him out so aggressively. Quentin exploded in anger, shouting that they had nearly gotten themselves disintegrated. He demanded to know what they had been thinking. Curtis defended their actions by insisting they were simply following Quentin's instructions to enforce punishment against insurgents. Quentin snapped back that they were supposed to assess the situation first. He reminded them that this was not a simulation or the danger room. Confused, Nell asked what the danger room even was. Quentin, growing more frustrated, threatened to demote them back to D Squad and send them on solo reconnaissance missions through Kensington. He also declared that they could forget about pizza bagels and possibly food altogether for the foreseeable future. Bailey, irritated by his reaction, remarked that he was not being very nice. Still unsettled by what had just happened, Quentin entered the house and called out for Rachel. Quentin cautiously asked if she was okay while Rachel Summers, the Phoenix wielder and alternate future daughter of Cyclops and Jean Grey, recovered from the psychic assault. Rachel murmured calmly that she was fine and admitted she had simply had the wind knocked out of her. She explained that the children had caught her completely off guard. Before she could even comprehend why a little girl was inside her mind, several other children had appeared as well. Confused, she even asked if one of them was a goat. She mentioned that she had heard he was doing something like that, struggling to recall what it was called. Quentin clarified that they were the Omega Kids, Revelation's tiny covert psychic task force, dutifully rooting out dissenters and roughing up those spreading ungrateful thoughts. Rachel angrily asked if that was why the children had attacked her in her own home. Quentin awkwardly excused their behavior, saying they were still learning and that he was not exactly the best teacher. Rachel pointed out that she never thought Quentin even liked kids. Quentin admitted that these particular kids were all right, though he confessed he did not fully understand them. Sometimes they mocked him, and other times they ignored his warnings and attempted to pick a psychic fight with a phoenix. Rachel bluntly agreed that what they had done was incredibly stupid. Frustrated, Quentin admitted that he genuinely wished the children would stop making fun of him. He explained that he had hoped they would see him as a cool teacher. He cooked for them, took them on adventures, and hunted bad guys alongside them. Rachel jokingly compared him to Peter Pan leading the Lost Boys. Quentin corrected her by claiming Lost Boys was gendered and that they preferred Lost Kids. He then awkwardly invited Rachel to join the team, arguing they could use someone with real experience. Rachel immediately rejected the idea, saying she had spent enough lifetime hunting her own people down like animals in one dystopian future. She intended to quietly enjoy paradise alone. Quentin insisted that maintaining paradise required effort and sacrifice, but Rachel dismissed the argument, claiming she had already paid her share several times over. As she was packing her bag, she warned Quentin to be careful with the Omega kids. Quentin shrugged it off, insisting the children were tough. Rachel replied that while they were certainly tough, they were also deeply impressionable and still mentally developing. She warned him that teaching psychic warheads to hunt and kill mutants like it was a game was extremely dangerous. Quentin looked surprised when he realized she was walking out, asking if she was leaving and where she was going. Rachel explained that his kids had trashed her home, forcing her to relocate elsewhere. After Rachel left, Bailey called out to Quentin and informed him they had found something else. Curtis projected a psychic image of a large gathering of heavily armed rebels. Quentin stared at the vision in shock and asked where it was located. Isla explained that the group was gathered near the water just outside Wilmington. Quentin asked whether they had confirmed the rebels' intentions. Nell psychically confirmed that they were anti-revelation dissenters. Quentin was stunned that such a large group had escaped detection. Bailey quietly admitted that it was probably her fault. Pointing toward one woman in the projection, she confessed they had failed to see the group because she had not wanted to see it. Quentin slowly realized the woman was Bailey's mother. Realizing the scale of the rebellion, Quentin admitted that the situation was likely above their pay grade. He instructed the children to return to the office and continue scanning while he informed Revelation. Bailey desperately grabbed Quentin's sleeve and begged him not to tell Revelation that she had hidden her mother from him. Quentin gently reassured her, placing his hands on her shoulders. He explained that he understood exactly how confusing psychic powers could be, and that he understood why she wanted to protect her mother from harm. Bailey tearfully agreed outwardly, but privately admitted to herself that she actually wanted everyone to suffer. Quentin remained completely unaware of her true feelings. At Revelation headquarters, Quentin psychically projected the rebel bunker before Revelation. Revelation asked whether Quentin's children had discovered the rebel cell. Quentin confirmed that the Omega kids had found it and admitted he did not know what to make of such a massive insurgent network. Revelation explained that the discovery aligned with increasing insurgent attacks against him and against their entire way of life. He described how the rebels had become organized, tactical, and increasingly dangerous. Quentin admitted that the situation did not make sense to him. Previous rebels had usually possessed personal motives connected to loved ones who had been babbled, but this group seemed far too large for that explanation. He wondered aloud what their true motive could possibly be. Revelation calmly answered that Quentin would extract the answer from their minds before shutting down their nervous systems. Quentin recoiled at the idea, insisting there had to be another explanation, such as mind control or manipulation. He could not understand how so many mutants could choose the wrong side. Revelation reminded him that rebellion naturally emerged wherever authority existed and pointed out that Quentin himself had once been rebellious. Quentin argued that his own rebellion had served a cause, whereas the Omega kids barely seemed to care whether a cause existed at all. Revelation then asked how the children were doing. Quentin began describing them as weird, creepy little weirdos he could not fully understand, though he insisted he would eventually figure them out. He was mid-sentence, stating that he'd rather not have them execute a whole bunker full of confused freedom fighters, when he abruptly noticed a strange psychic glitch behind him. Revelation continued speaking about rebellion and the need for relentless violence, but Quentin became increasingly distracted by the anomaly. Unbeknownst to him, Quentin was not actually at Revelation headquarters. In reality, he was standing inside Rachel Summers' destroyed home, surrounded by armed soldiers aiming guns directly at him. The entire meeting with Revelation was itself a psychic projection, and Quentin remained completely unaware that he had been trapped inside it the entire time. Meanwhile, back in the secret psychic refuge, the Omega kids relaxed together. Nell remarked that Quentin was going to be furious once he discovered the truth. Bailey proudly asked who? The old man. She reminded Nell that she had once wished Quentin would leave them alone. Bailey smugly declared that she had made sure he would. As she spoke, she casually crushed an ant beneath her fingertip, almost as though she viewed herself as superior to every living thing around her. Nell reminded her that they still had work to do, and warned that Quentin would realize they had stopped running scans the moment he escaped the psychic projection. Bailey calmly reassured her that she had already taken care of everything. She explained that she had created a psychic relay exactly the way Quentin had once described. Her mind was now automatically scanning the entire territory without requiring her attention. If anyone displayed negative thoughts about Revelation, Bailey casually admitted she was switching off their brains automatically. Isla immediately panicked and pointed out that people constantly had negative thoughts. She realized in horror that Bailey was probably killing every mutant she scanned. Bailey simply responded in a chilling tone that they were all enemies anyway. As she raised her hand, a butterfly lifted from her fingers and floated peacefully into the sky. Bailey watched it calmly, wearing the expression of someone utterly convinced that everything was perfectly under control.